Hola, buenos días. Vamos a presentar hoy a conferenciantes. Se trata de Sina Hage. Es una estudiosa de la arquitectura tradicional desde el punto de vista de la sostenibilidad, con la intención de aprender de esa sostenibilidad vernácula y aplicarlo a la arquitectura contemporánea. En este caso nos va a presentar un trabajo de investigación que ha hecho in situ con los pueblos Luo en el interior de Kenia, donde ha realizado un estudio de la arquitectura tradicional de allí, la transformación, los retos actuales, y ha realizado una serie de trabajos prácticos con los habitantes del lugar. Os dejamos con ella.
Hello, my name is Sina Hage. I'm a civil engineer and architect and currently a PhD student at the Universitat Politècnica de València and also a research assistant at the Jade University of Applied Science in Oldenburg in Germany. I'm very happy to share today a brief insight of my studies during my research stay in Kenya at the Sauti Foundation. First of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present at this conference, and also big thank you to the Sauti Foundation of Dr. Auma for supporting my research and working together with me. And thanks to the Jade University of Applied Science to support me. Why did I have done this research? We can notice a worldwide rising demand for buildings which should be environmental, economical and social sustainable. Especially circular economy seems like a promising, resolute strategy in doing so. Kenya shows a keen interest into as well. With a revised building code, they are promoting the use of recycled building materials. And also the Housing and Building Institute of the University of Nairobi encouraged several criteria for the selection of building materials. For example, consider climate conditions, make use of local available raw materials, and also incorporate indigenous techniques and skills. These facts and observation led to the reconsideration of vernacular architecture around the globe. Today I structured my presentation into the following chapters. First of all, I will give you an overview about my research objective, my methodology, and then the selected case study. Going over then describing the pre-colonial vernacular Lu architecture within the circular economy principles, how the Lu architecture changed until today, what kind of challenges the Lu architecture are today facing, what kind of workshops we have done, and by closing this presentation with a conclusion and outlook. The first objective of the research stay in Kenya was to identify circular economy principles within sustainability principles in the vernacular architecture of Lus in Siaya country. Second was to analyze the transformation of pre-colonialism vernacular architecture and today's architecture. And third, to identify the challenges of today. In order to reach these objectives, I summarized the circular economy principles of the cradle-to-cradle certification by Professor Braungart, the principles by the MacArthur Foundations, and the principles of the World Green Book, and ordered them into the wheel of sustainability principles of vernacular architecture, defined by the research group of the VESUS project, Heritage for Tomorrow, Vernacular Knowledge for Sustainable Architecture. This wheel is divided in the three areas: environmental, economical, and social cultural sustainability. As I will go along describing the traditional Lu architecture, I will go into it in detail. And when we arrived in Kenya, first of all, me and my bachelor student, Luca Bösart, We visit several museums in Nairobi, also the Bomas Museum, which shows vernacular architectural styles of different ethical groups in Kenya. Then we also visit the architectural library of the University of Nairobi to check some of old books about the Lu architecture, and then went to the Kisumu Museum, which shows a replica of the traditional Lu homestead. Together with the Sauti Ku Foundation, we analyzed the local area and its natural materials, interviewed local artisans and residents, and organized workshops with the local community, old and young, to better understand the culture. In Kenya, you can find over 70 different ethical groups, which have all different vernacular architecture style and culture. We focused on the ethic group Lu, as we already mentioned. The Lus in Kenya are located close to the Victoria Lake in Siaya country, near the Uganda border. Around the 16th century, the ancestors of the Lu began to migrating from the Bahr al-Ghazal region in Sudan, south of the Nile, and finally were settling on the eastern side of the Lake Victoria basin. Siaya country is divided into different sub-countries located directly in the equator and around 60 kilometers northwest from the city Kisumu. The investigation was done in the sub-country Alego, which lies 1,288 meters over sea level, and after the Köppen-Geiger climate classification system, Siaya is allocated in the climate zone AF, tropical rainforest climate. That means the daily average temperature is between 21 and 23 degrees Celsius, and the rainy seasons are mainly in April, May, and October, November. However, according to interviews with local residents, the weather conditions have changed and are no longer as predictable as they used to be, which makes farming difficult. And farming and also fishing is the predominant economic activity of the Lus. Traditionally and still today, the Lu men were allowed to live in a polygamous marriage as long as the first wife agrees. Depending on the size of the family, the size of the homestead homestead layout was determined. Here you can see a sketch of the traditional Lu homestead. Starting with the front gate, which faces directly on the opposite of the first wife's hut with her own granary. And the first wife's hut was also the biggest hut of the compound, and on her left side there was the second wife's hut, and on her right side the third wife's hut, all with their own granary. In the center there you can find the man's hut, and right next to it was the cattle for the animals. Close to the front gate on the left side you were able to find the first son's hut, also known as Simba, and on the right side the second son's hut. On the left side again the third son's hut, and on the right side then the fourth son's hut. Behind the first wife's hut was the back gate of the compound, which gave access to the kitchen garden. And the compound was surrounded by a natural fence of euphorbia trees. In the style of the homestead layout, we can find the first circular economy principle reduced by design. The minimalistic design of each hut was tailored to the actual needs. The first wife hut, for example, was one room with multiple purposes, sleeping, cooking, and for meetings. The man's hut was the smallest, as it served only for sleeping purposes. Also, the construction of the Lu hut had a minimal impact on site, as they don't have any foundation plate of concrete. It is not sealing the terrain permanently. This is a picture of the Kisumu Museum, which built a replica of the Lu homestead. The circular principles refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle can be summarized by using local materials and refuse foreign materials. The choice of connection techniques which are possible to disassemble easily are enabling to reuse or recycle the material quickly. For the roof, mainly Siala wood was used for the structure and local grass for thatching the roof, and handmade ropes out of sisal for connecting the building elements. On the top right side you can see a sisal plant, and then on the lower picture you can see the sisal ropes made out of these plants. Also, for the wall construction they mainly used Siala wood and local soil and cow dung for plastering to construct a wattle and daub wall. By using local soil, the vernacular buildings are serving as a heat accumulator. The thatched roof of 40 to 100 centimeters thickness has an insulating effect against solar heating radiation, and additionally the gap between the roof and the wall offers natural ventilation. Besides the physical advantages, the natural materials do not emit any toxic substances. Intense heat from the sun and heavy rainfalls, often with hailstorm and strong winds, are the main natural hazard risk in Siaya country. The thatch roof of the Lu vernacular architecture serves as an insulation system, as already mentioned, and the big roof overhang with 50 to 75 centimeter prevent the clay walls to be rained on. Going over to the economical sustainable factors of Lu vernacular architecture, the circular economy principle of extending the building lifetime has to be assured by recurring work. The women are replastering the walls and floor every 3 months, and the roof has to be redone every second year, depending on the accuracy of its building technique, the type of the grass, and the weather conditions the roof had to face. Saving resources is an important aspect of the circular economy. In the construction of Lu homes, only local natural materials are used, which can be found in the natural environment. Siala wood is used for the wall and roof structure. This special tree of life, as the locals are naming it, has the feature that if you only harvest the branches and larger trunks, the tree continues to grow. So it can continue to sprout branches directly from the very same stump. All natural materials can be easily recycled in the biological life cycle by just giving them back to nature. Vernacular architecture supports also local economy and so its autonomy. By purchasing local materials from local farmers, the architecture is independent from industrial materials, which are often made far away from its location. Also, social, cultural sustainability principles can be found in the vernacular architecture of the Lus. The building site was not particularly dangerous, as heavy construction equipment was not needed. This meant that the children could help as they were able with the construction work, so they learned as they went along. That said, certain construction techniques such as the construction roof and thatching of the roof with grass could only be carried out by skilled artisans. They in turn taught their sons often their trade. As well, the construction and maintaining work was done within the whole community and encouraged social cohesion. depending on how much a member of the community was valued, a correspondingly large number of people from the community would help to build their homestead. After identifying the sustainability principles within the vernacular architecture of the Lus, we analyzed the transformation of the Lu architecture. Thanks again to the welcoming community, we had the opportunity to visit 3 homesteads of today, and it is striking to see that the shape of the buildings and the grounds of the homesteads have changed from round to rectangular shape. On the first and the third plot, the first wife hut is still directly in front of the front gate, and all compounds still have a kitchen garden and an outdoor kitchen with an energy saver stove. Also, by looking in detail on the new Lu houses, we can recognize more industrial materials. For example, the iron sheets to collect rainwater, and also the connected water tank to it. On all houses we found a photovoltaic panel to generate electricity, and 2 of the 3 had also glass windows with a metallic frame. These owners have also chosen iron doors. Coming now over to today's challenges. The residents were, and also due to our literature review, we found out that environmental challenges are now heavy precipitations and floods, as we already or just recently saw in the news in Nairobi. During the heat time, they are facing droughts and water scarcity. Termites and other infestations are damaging the houses, and they are noticing a decreased resource availability. On the economical aspect, unemployment among the young generations is happening with a high poverty level, and also so limit access to financing and credit opportunity. And on the social cultural side, there's a notice of rapid population growth and with insufficient efforts in the preservation of cultural heritage, a strong rural-urban migration, and also they have a poor image of the traditional housing and wish for more durable and less maintenance-intensive housing. After the first weeks of researching, we did every weekend a workshop with the kids and parents of the Sautiku Foundation. I can tell you we learned all so much and had also so much fun. So we started our workshop series with drawing a traditional homestead. So the parents had to explain to the kids how it was, by ending the day with building an architectural model of a traditional hut. Thereby, the parents and kids were divided in 3 groups. So 1 group for the roof, and 1 for the wall, and 1 for the door. Here we can see the final mock-up of the traditional hut. And on next workshop, another workshop we did only with the kids of the foundation, where we built little models of a homestead. Then we continued with the next workshop, a bigger project. We wanted to try different clay building techniques in the region. So we started coming up with a plan of little 1 meter long sample walls, where we wanted to try the traditional way, wattle and daub with different components and plasters. Then a hay ball wall, which we later changed to a cop wall due to some difficulties making the hay wall, a cop wall, a rammed earth wall, and adobe bricks and compressed earth bricks. All parents and the kids of the community came to experience with these techniques and to work with us. And yeah, this was our lovely team. And on this picture, you can see the team of the traditional wall, the wattle and daub, where we use the siala wood and the soil, what we could found on the compound directly. In the middle, we mixed some bigger stones into it to try something new and to strengthen it more. And all these three got later on a different kind of plaster. One only with soil, one with cow dung, and one mixed with lime. Then we did some adobe walls. First of all, we had to build a formwork, which you can see on the left side. And then also here we tried different kind of mixtures, one just soil and one mixed with lime. This you can see on the top side of the picture on the left side. The more yellow color is the one mixed with lime. Then we also did some walls with compressed earth blocks. Also here we tried different mixtures, just soil, one mixed with fiber. We used here a mixture of the grass and vetiver grass, which is a local grass there, and a very strong fiber. And then bricks with just soil and lime. Also one group was doing the cob wall, which was also mixed with the vetiver grass. And then we had also a group who was doing the ramped earth wall. For this we had to build, first of all, of course, a formwork. And then we ramped it here on the right side just with soil and on the left side with some gravel in between. On this picture, you can see the final result of this long wall. And I'm very happy to see in a few months, hopefully, this wall again and to see how it changed. And it was really interesting to see how all participated in this experiment with so much excitement, but then also to see how different the working process of each wall was and what kind of time it was consuming. At the end, the Sautiku Foundation offered us to rebuild this old hut on their compound with a new technique to experiment even more. As they pretty much like the ramped earth, we took it as our challenge to build this round hut with ramped earth. And we were also thinking if we eliminate the siala poles in between the traditional wattle and daub technique, maybe we are cutting the link for the termites to get up into the roof. And also ramped earth doesn't need to be plastered, so maybe we could reach the wish for a less maintaining wall structure. So we started to build. After demolishing, we dug out the foundation, in which we put in a foil and then also just ramped earth into it. We didn't use any concrete. And after 2 days we were finishing, we were able to finish the first round. Here you can see also different layers, as we also try to use different soil from different regions around the compound, mainly to get an interesting appearance. We created a climbing formwork by our own, built our own stampers, one out of wood and or a few out of wood and a few out of metal, and we noticed very quickly that the metal one are better one, as you could get more pressure. And we also built our own scaffolding, the 3-pot ladder you can see on the left side. Along the way, we faced a lot of new challenges, like the round shape, to keep it round, keeping the right consistency of the soil, and then also environmental challenges. Heavy rainfalls came down in the night and weakened our structure. And I would also like to share with you our failure we had. So some parts unfortunately collapsed, and on the left picture you can see in the back that we already reached quite a height. Here we were around 1.70 meters high. So due to time limit and rain, the lower wall parts still were quite wet as we continued building. And I guess then applying new vibration due to compressing the earth, the lower parts were just too weak. But it was an experiment and we learned, so we decided to rebuild everything, even the parts which were still standing, because we didn't trust it anymore. So we mixed everything again and mixed it then with some lime to strengthen the wall. And this worked pretty well. And at the end we built 2.30 meters high, so it's even higher than the traditional wall was. Just to have a nice height for the entrance. On the finished ramped earth walls we applied a traditional roof, and for this was done by the local professional artisan Michael. Also here we used again the Siala wood, and we were then able to apply also the grass, also done by the local professional artisan. And the final look was looking like this. And with this I would like to conclude my presentation. So the traditional Lu architecture contains a lot of circular economy principles, but they have also their challenges today, but so do have new techniques as well and new materials. They have their own challenges, and here now it's necessary to weighten up the different methods, processes, and this I will do in my further work and also try to develop it a bit further. Finally, thank you very much to Sautiku Foundation again, and especially Dr. Auma for welcoming us in your community, to show us your culture and traditions, to experience with us and trust us. And of course, also thank you, dear audience, for your attention and interest. If you have further questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact me at any time. Here you can see my email address. Thank you.